Have you ever seen a defense like this and lost all hope?
We'll squash you like a tiny spider.
Do not worry. I will show you how to defeat Ishmael with a high probability. The aim of the first method is to quickly remove Sebastian's shield, which normally protects against debuffs, so that Fafnir and Ishmael can stun the opposing team. To remove Sebastian's shield, we use Heidi with Biscuit as a patron.
A little monkey is no match for me.
Are you sure about that? Use your eyes to see.
The monkey was tougher than I thought.
To understand why Heidi and Biscuit work so well together, let's first take a look at two test battles. On the left side you can see the fight in which Heidi uses Biscuit. On the right-hand side, Heidi does not use any pet at all. Biscuit's patronage effect adds a healing debuff to Heidi's attacks. This means that not only every basic attack, but also every tick of Heidi's damage over time effects will remove one of Sebastian's 15 shield counters. Sebastian's shield can be seen as a white bar that decreases with every debuff the shield absorbs. His shield also adds white circles below the protected heroes. As you can see on the left, Heidi quickly removes Sebastian's shield. This is not the case on the right-hand side, as Heidi does not use Biscuit here. In the actual fight, after Heidi uses his second ability on Ishmael, Sebastian's shield is quickly gone. With Sebastian's shield out of the way, Fafnir can stun the entire enemy team with his ultimate. This is the final nail in the coffin. The results of this method are pretty consistent, as you can see in these test battles from a maxed wisdom tree account. Actually, the attacking team never lost in over 20 fights. The second method is even more control-based.
A gang of girls? Oh, come on!
This time Biscuit is used on Lien. The goal is the same as before, get rid of Sebastian's shield and then crowd control the enemy team. Amira is used here. Her ultimate attack deals devastating damage if the opposing team is stunned during its uptime, as they cannot weaken its power with their damage while stunned. If you want to learn more about this, please watch my latest video about Amira's first skill. It's linked in the description. Amira's second skill also is of great help against crit-based heroes like Ishmael, as it makes them completely miss all of their critical hits for 7 seconds. In this fight, the attacking team actually killed Ishmael before he could use his ultimate. Still, in the end this fight was a timeout.
I knew it. Too many girls. What's this strange spider all about?
It's Alyssa. Maybe she thinks you look tasty. Anyway, although the fight was lost, Sebastian and Ishmael went down. This makes the follow-up attack fairly easy to win. Here too, the test battles in which a maximum wisdom tree account was used showed a high victory rate and only 2 defeats out of 20 battles. Last but not least, here's a method using Dante for quick damage and Polaris for her crowd control. Also note how Jet is used as a counter to Rufus. Jet's second skill not only reduces the target's armor, but more importantly, Jet's third ability prevents Rufus from gaining health. Therefore, when Rufus revives himself, he only has 1 health left, which means that any physical attack will kill him, as you can see in the ongoing battle. Be careful when using Jet, though, his second and third skill are blocked by Sebastian's ultimate. In this fight, however, Sebastian was killed so quickly that Jet was able to debuff and kill Rufus within the first 30 seconds. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions about these methods and also your favorite way to defeat Ishmael. Similar to the first battles, the last method resulted in only 1 defeat in 20 repetitions with a maximum wisdom tree account.
We will be giving away 3 community gifts, which will be drawn approximately 4 weeks after the release of this video. To participate, please follow the instructions given in the description of this video. Best luck to you all.
Amira's first skill is very strong, but also quite complicated. This test battle will hopefully help you understand how it works. Her first skill creates a whirlwind of cursed gold for every hero in the opposing team. The whirlwind lasts for 7 seconds. During this time, any damage dealt by the surrounded heroes reduces the damage dealt by the storm at the end of the duration. Amira uses her first skill at 1 minute and 31 seconds. You can see how every enemy hero is surrounded by gold coins. During the storm's uptime, Martha and Celeste will do almost no damage, but Dante will use 2 ultimates. This means that only the storm around Dante is weakened, but not the storms around Martha and Celeste. Therefore, when the storm ends, it deals huge damage to Martha and Celeste, but not that much to Dante. Also note that it didn't matter who was hit by Dante. Amira was too far behind to be hit by Dante's spears, but the storm still only caused low damage to Dante. So the key points are: the damage of the whirlwind is calculated individually for each hero. To reduce his damage, each hero must deal damage himself. All heroes who cause only minor damage during the storm are hit hard. So how can we counter this storm? Since it's magic damage, you'd think Isaac would be a good counter. Let's take a look at a similar test match. Here you can see how Amira summons the storm. Again, Martha and Celeste do almost no damage during the storm, but Dante deals quite some damage. Similar to the first test fight, the storm ends up doing a lot of damage to Martha and Celeste, but much less to Isaac and none at all to Dante. This shows us that Isaac's second skill alone is not enough to protect all your heroes from being one-shot by the storm. Isaac for sure is useful though when it comes to the following methods to counter Amira. Crowd control Amira to stop her from using her ultimate. Destroy her quick enough. If Amira dies before the whirlwind ends, it deals 0 damage. Bring a hero with an artifact buff that increases magic defense. The heroes with magic defense artifact buffs are Cornelius, Marcus, Maya, Thea, Peppy, and Phobos. My personal favorite is Thea, since she got new ascension skills last year that make her a pretty good healer anyway. She also has a decent selection of pets, making her a good fit for many teams. Here you can see a team combination that brings high magic damage from Aurora, which is boosted by Polaris' 4th skill. In addition, this team has some crowd control from Polaris' 4th skill and also Thea's magic defense artifact buff. As can be seen at the bottom of the screen, this attacking team is actually so strong against this defending team that it wins 19 out of 20 battles on a max wisdom tree account. If you're like me, you may have thought Polaris was a good hero, but not overpowered. In this video, I'll show you why her 3rd skill actually is overpowered and will change the game in 2024. Not only does this skill negate many crowd control abilities in the game, but it also works against the strongest ultimate of all, Sebastian's 1st skill. 17 seconds into the fight, Polaris uses her 3rd ability for the first time. Not only does it have a nice visual effect, but it also allows Arachne to stun the enemy heroes despite Sebastian's debuff protection, which would normally prevent the stun. Polaris' 3rd skill lowers the level of Sebastian's 1st skill by 10. Here you can see the formula for the proc chance of level-based skills. If a level difference of 10 is entered into the formula, this results in a chance of 28.6%. This means that Sebastian's debuff protection only works 28.6% of the time while Polaris' 3rd skill is active. Or in other words, 71.4% of the time, Arachne will get her stun through despite Sebastian's protection. Polaris also allows other control heroes to penetrate Sebastian's protection. Take Jorgen, for example. Jorgen's 1st skill prevents the affected enemies from gaining energy for 9 seconds. In the battle on the left, you can see how Jorgen's 1st skill penetrates Sebastian's protection. There is an anti-energy symbol caused by Jorgen's 1st skill, and both Sebastian and Aurora no longer receive any energy. Just a reminder of what this situation normally looks like without Polaris. In the battle on the right, you can see that Sebastian's protection completely blocks Jorgen's 1st skill. Therefore, there is no anti-energy symbol from Jorgen's 1st skill, and both Sebastian and Aurora continue to receive energy. The fact that Polaris has such a strong effect on Sebastian, one of the most useful heroes in Dominion, already makes her a potential game changer for 2024. But Polaris also has a similar effect on all heroes in the game, whose skills have a level-dependent chance of activation. Take Isaac, for example. His first skill is also level-dependent. According to the formula we used earlier, this means that Isaac will fail to apply his silence effect 71.4% of the time while Polaris' third skill is active. On the left, you can see that Isaac fails to silence Astaroth or Polaris, while on the right, he silences Astaroth because there is no Polaris to stop him. There are many more heroes affected by Polaris' third skill. Take Kark's skill to deal double damage, for example. Or Lian's charm effects. It may come as a surprise that even Andvari's protection against knockup effects is vulnerable to Polaris' third ability. Usually Andvari is a soft counter to Kark teams. Not so if Kark is combined with Polaris. All of the skills I just mentioned have a 71.4% chance of failing while Polaris' third skill is active. The commonly used Lars and Krista are also affected by Polaris. Normally, Lars' first skill pushes the enemy heroes over Krista's ice crystals. Not so when the Polaris skill is active. As you can see on the screen, Lars' skill barely moves the enemy heroes at all because of Polaris' third skill, and therefore the ice crystals deal only very low damage. Only while Polaris' third skill is inactive is Lars able to move the enemy heroes and damage them with the crystals. There are actually so many skills affected by Polaris' third skill that it's too much to cover them all in one video. However, you should keep in mind that there are two often used heroes whose crowd control skills are not level dependent and are therefore not affected by Polaris' third skill, Jorgen and Arachne. So be careful when attacking Jorgen or Arachne with Polaris. Speaking of obstacles for your Polaris, when attacking Corvus, your Polaris might need extra healing as his Altar of Souls can kill Polaris quickly due to her AoE damage. To keep Polaris alive against Corvus' Altar, consider using Dorian's Vampirism Aura, which also works great with a baby Dorian, as you can see in a previous video in my channel. We haven't talked yet about Polaris' other skills. Besides giving Polaris bonus energy, her second skill absorbs 3 hits, which is especially useful against Dante, a hero that is quite common in the current meta. Dante's ultimate hits the first 4 enemies. In the first part of the battle, this leads to the death of Celeste. With only 4 enemy heroes alive, Dante's next ultimate hits all remaining heroes, including Polaris. However, thereafter Dante's ultimate does not hit Polaris because one of his spears is absorbed by Polaris' second skill's Ice Barrier. In battles against Dante, the Ice Barrier is a great help in keeping your vulnerable heroes in the back row alive. After the Ice Barrier absorbs 3 hits, it activates Polaris' 4th skill, which stuns nearby enemies and prevents them from gaining energy for 3 seconds. It also increases magic damage and reduces physical damage to them for 3 seconds. Polaris' 4th skill is also triggered by her ultimate, which can be used to stun a hero of your choice, since you can choose when to stop Polaris' Comet in manual play. The screen shows that the Comet was stopped when it reached Nebula to stun her, which also killed her shortly afterwards. Polaris' ability to stun a hero of your choice and also prevent them from gaining energy is another great tool that, combined with her other abilities, shows her great potential for dominance in 2024. There's one more thing about Polaris: all that we discussed in this video does not depend on Polaris' magic attack. Even with low power, she might be a great addition to your team as long as she has enough health to survive.
Welcome, I am Polaris, and I can tell you that there is no way to defend against me.
Nice try, Polaris. You really are a tough nut to crack, but we'll find a way.
Good luck. Better not rely on this singing guy with the goatee.
Yes, Sebastian's ultimate isn't enough to protect a team these days, as Polaris' 3rd skill will make Sebastian's protection fail 71.4% of the time. Please see my earlier video about Polaris linked in the description if you want to know more. So how to best defend against control teams that use Polaris? There are 4 heroes that can remove control effects like stuns: Sebastian, Celeste, Nebula.
Is that all you've got?
Patience, please. I said 4 heroes. And the 4th one is the little cat. Meow. As you can see on the screen, my Julius is quite the baby cat. I keep him low because I like to use him for the Aidan trick, which I've also linked to a video about. Julius is the 4th hero in the game who can remove negative effects when his shields, which he has placed on allies, are destroyed. To be honest, my experience with a grown-up Julius is quite limited. I can see him being a decent off-tank against control teams. But for this video, I'm going to focus on non-tank heroes. When we look at these 3 heroes, it seems that all 3 skills displayed on the screen are level dependent. Hence, for a while I thought they were all weakened by Polaris' 3rd skill in the same way. Boy, was I wrong. I almost missed that for both Celeste and Sebastian. The subtext of the skill only talks about the blocking and protection against negative effects. These parts of the skills are certainly weakened by Polaris' 3rd skill. Celeste's and Sebastian's skills have a second effect though. They remove all existing negative effects when they are cast. So is this removing of negative effects weakened by Polaris' 3rd skill? It is not. I have even had this confirmed by the support team. If you take a close look at Nebula's 2nd skill, you'll see that it too has an effect that is not weakened by Polaris' 3rd skill, the Ascension upgrade. Compared to Sebastian and Celeste's effect, however, I find this rather disappointing, as it really only cancels the very next buff and only if it hits Nebula's target within 4 seconds. Nebula's Ascension skill is displayed on the screen as a bar above the heroes next to her. As you can see, the protection is gone when Celeste's next attack hits Chaba. This is because Celeste's attack is boosted by Biscuit's patronage, which adds a healing debuff that is blocked by Nebula's protection. The key here is that any debuff removes the protection offered by Nebula's Ascension skill, so it's pretty unlikely to actually protect you from something as dangerous as a stun. There is another big disadvantage of Nebula's 2nd skill compared to Sebastian and Celeste's 1st skill. Even in manual play, you cannot choose when it is activated. So how to fight Polaris control teams? In my opinion, Sebastian is still by far the best anti-control hero in the game. He's better than Celeste, because even in the presence of Polaris' 3rd skill, his ultimate removes all debuffs from all heroes. Whereas Celeste's sphere only removes the debuffs from a single hero. The same applies to the protective part of the 2 skills. When fighting Polaris, in my opinion, Nebula is the worst of these 3. As her debuff removal has a 71.4% chance of failing while Polaris' 3rd skill is active. Anyway, I still think Nebula is a great hero and that these 3 heroes are the best anti-control heroes in 2024 because of everything I talked about before. Therefore, I suggest that you add Sebastian and Celeste to your core heroes along with Chorus when fighting control teams that use Polaris. With Chorus, your heroes have a good chance of blocking most of the common control effects. And even if one of Sebastian or Celeste is crowd-controlled, there is still a chance that the other will remove the debuff. If you're thinking about investing in a new hero now, I strongly recommend that you don't spread your resources across too many heroes at once. Work on your main heroes first. This list is based on my personal experience playing this game for the last 3 years. Please take it with a grain of salt. In general, I suggest that you work on your main heroes first and then slowly add new heroes. This video is meant to help you with this process. In 5th place is Isaac. He has a unique skill which allows him to absorb a portion of any magic damage. This damage charges his ultimate skill, which silences all enemies for 4 seconds. Even better, Isaac's ultimate skill also deals considerable damage thanks to his 4th skill. Against some mage teams, it is possible to defeat them with an Isaac team that has less than a third of the team power. To do this, you have to combine Isaac with Dorian, in whom you really don't have to invest much for this. In fact, Isaac is so strong against most magic heroes that it's rare to find a defending mage team in Gold League or Clash of Worlds battles. Isaac excels not only in PvP, but also in PvE. In the hardest of all PvE fights, the level 160 Ashe fight in Asgard, Isaac is even used as the main tank in all meta teams. If you want to know how this player dealt over 680 million damage in the level 160 fight against Ashe, check out the video I linked in the description. Since the last Winterfest, however, there has been a new disadvantage for Isaac, Polaris. Her third skill lowers Isaac's chance to silence enemies. But more importantly, Polaris' fourth skill stops Isaac's energy gained for 3 seconds, which can be extended by various methods. We will go into more detail about Polaris later in this video. However, even in the presence of Polaris, Isaac is still a force to be reckoned with, as you can see in the on-screen battle. Therefore, in my opinion, Isaac rightly deserves 5th place in this ranking. In 4th place is Arachne. Her first skill is a great tool to stun multiple enemies for 5 seconds. Actually, if the enemy team is grouped together, it can even stun the whole team. Arachne's second skill adds another stun to her toolset. Stuns are generally amazing because, firstly, stunned heroes can't move or attack, and secondly, they can't dodge incoming attacks or skills. What makes Arachne's stuns even deadlier is the fact that you can use Mara for her patronage effect, which increases the duration of the stuns by up to 200% at maximum patronage power, which is quite costly though. Then again, even Amara with lower rank increases the duration of any crowd control effect by a considerable amount. However, you have to get her to at least purple rank to use her patronage skill.
If you think she's so strong, why didn't you put her in 1st place?
Welcome, Iris. Well, there is a delicate matter. Arachne's biggest weakness is Sebastian's ultimate, which completely blocks Arachne's stuns.
Oh, that is indeed tricky.
To make matters worse, Sebastian enters the fight with a high amount of energy, which allows him to activate his protection shortly after the fight begins.
Wait, how about Polaris?
Good point. Polaris is indeed a great help for Arachne. Her third skill decreases the level of skills like Sebastian's ultimate by 10. This allows Arachne and other control heroes to ignore Sebastian's protection with a chance of 71.4%. If you want to learn more about Polaris' game-changing third skill, I highly recommend watching my earlier video on Polaris linked in the description. Even before the arrival of Polaris, Arachne was one of the top heroes in the game. But this year, I believe she will rise to even greater glory.
Girls simply rule.
Some do for sure, like my wife. Back to the 3rd place, which is occupied by Celeste. In my opinion, Celeste is the most adaptable hero in the game because she can switch between her light and dark form many times during a fight. She starts the battle in her dark form, in which her basic attacks deal magic damage and she prevents enemy healing. This skill has great side effects like it counters Astaroth's resurrection skill. However, I find Celeste even more powerful in her light form, which she changes into by activating her ultimate ability.
Sorry for the interruption. May I ask you to hit subscribe? This video has taken 20 hours to create over the last 2 weeks. If you subscribe, it's really a sign that it's worth the effort.
By the way, Celeste is the only hero who can use the ultimate skill with 50% energy. In light form, her basic attacks heal, and she casts a purifying sphere which heals over time and also clears negative effects including Yasmin's poison. The purifying sphere also blocks negative effects for 4 seconds. For this reason, Celeste can be quite helpful against control heroes like Arachne. Both Arachne's ultimate stun and Celeste's blocking sphere target the hero with the least health left. As you can see on the screen, this results in Arachne trying to stun Celeste, who has just placed her sphere on herself. Celeste has therefore just blocked Arachne's deadliest weapon. I believe Celeste will still be a top hero in 2024 because many players will be looking for ways to improve their defense against control teams. For this we need to quickly talk about Polaris and Sebastian, another top 5 hero. Before Polaris entered the game in December 2023, Sebastian's ultimate skill worked great on its own, protecting the entire team from almost every control effect. But nowadays the protective part of Sebastian's ultimate is soft-countered by Polaris' third skill, which gives Sebastian's protection a 71.4% chance of failing. The part of Sebastian's ultimate that removes debuffs is not weakened by Polaris. However, this part alone is not enough to defend against control teams, as Sebastian cannot use the skill when he himself is stunned. That's why I think Sebastian and Celeste are a great combination against control teams, because if one of them is stunned, the other can remove the stun. They are even better against control teams if you add Chorus as team pet, as he gives a decent chance to block most control effects.
Wait. What is the point?
The point is that Celeste and Sebastian were top 5 heroes before Polaris, and they still are after Polaris entered the game. We haven't even talked about Celeste's other strengths yet. One of the reasons she's been a top 5 hero for quite some time is that she can use 4 pets that can enhance her skill speed, damage, healing, and defense. This also gives your team flexibility. Maybe one day you decide to add a new hero to your main team. It's quite a relief to find out that the pets you've invested so much in still fit into your new team, because Celeste can just switch to another pet. Celeste is also unique in that her ultimate ability only costs 50% energy. This means that she can use it twice when she has 100% energy, giving your other heroes a huge magic attack boost. As you can see on the screen, Orion deals 66,000 damage per hit without Celeste's boost. When Celeste uses her ultimate twice, Orion's damage increases to 111,000 per hit. That is an increase of 67%. For all these reasons, I think Celeste is the third best hero in the game. You may have already guessed who is in second place, Sebastian. Before Polaris was introduced, I had Sebastian in first place. But Polaris' third ability has hurt him so much that he has slipped to second place. If you watch my videos on Polaris, you might understand why I think Sebastian still is almost as useful against other players as he was last year. He excels not only in PvP, but also when fighting bosses, as his second and third skills and also his artifact buff greatly increase the damage of heroes who deal physical damage. On first place is Aurora, who recently got new Ascension skill upgrades. These upgrades, along with the introduction of Polaris, who increases magic damage, make Aurora a really dangerous tank these days. And Aurora was already one of the best tanks before this, thanks to her great skills and also her dodge artifact buff that benefits the entire team against physical attacks. Aurora also is a great tank against magic teams thanks to her fourth skill, which absorbs 85% of magic damage and then explodes and deals magic damage to nearby enemies. In battle, you can see a second bar below Aurora's health bar. When this second bar is full, Aurora's shield explodes and deals considerable magic damage to the enemy front line. Note, however, that the excess magic damage from the hit that filled the shield bar will hit Aurora. As a result, the shield actually absorbs less than 85% of the total magic damage during the battle. This is just a small detail. It's still a fantastic ability against magic teams. One of the biggest threats to Aurora is Iris Ultimate, which allows all enemy heroes to hit Aurora regardless of her dodge and armor. Because of this and her good damage, survivability, and selection of pets, you could argue that Iris is also a top 5 hero. If I'm honest, the reason I didn't put Iris in the top 5 is the fact that it's extremely difficult for a large portion of the player base to get Iris Soul Stones. If you can summon Iris even with just 2 stars, I highly recommend using her as she really is a top-tier hero. If you push me, I would put Iris at first place on this list and kick Isaac off. There is one more hero that could be on this list, Polaris. I've decided not to include her because she's such a new hero that it's too early to tell how good she'll be. However, I am sure that she will have a big impact on which teams are favored in PvP. Today we will talk about Jorgen's secret, which most players unfortunately learn too late. In general, Jorgen is still quite useful.
Quite useful. Old man, I am the most powerful hero of whole Dominion.
I am sorry to hurt your feelings, young lad. You are not. But let's not get emotional. Before the introduction of Sebastian, Jorgen was indeed by far the strongest hero. He defined what was working and what wasn't. His first and last abilities really have a devastating effect on the opposing team's energy gain. However, in December 2019, Sebastian entered the game and dethroned Jorgen completely. His ultimate blocks 3 of Jorgen's abilities. And Sebastian's 4th ability ensures that he can use his ultimate very early in the fight. If your target team has Sebastian, you should not use Jorgen. But, in some guild battles and especially in Clash of World battles, there are many teams without Sebastian, because you can only use him in one of your 3 defending teams. So you might still want to invest a little in Jorgen, because in fights without Sebastian he can still be a real game changer, like before 2019. Jorgen also did a great job in the cosmic battles, where Sebastian was banned by the community and Jorgen secured a respectable ranking for me. Also, thanks to Biscuit's purple skill, it is possible these days to create teams that quickly use up Sebastian's protection so that Jorgen can shine again. However, these teams are highly specialized and therefore worth a video of their own. Back to Jorgen. What makes Jorgen especially useful is that he needs only little investment. My Jorgen is below 50k power and I am very happy with him. Also, it seems best not to invest into Jorgen's health glyph as higher health will slow down his energy gain. So what's Jorgen's secret? It's that leveling his 3rd skill has a major disadvantage, especially if you fight with Yasmin. It might still be the right thing for you to level it. But, since leveling it cannot be undone, you should know about the disadvantage first. Jorgen's 3rd skill transfers all physical damage to the hero at the back of the enemy team. To see how this ability might work against your heroes, let's look at a test fight. The Jorgen on the left side has its 3rd ability at level 1, whereas the Jorgen at the right side has maximum ability level. Now the right Jorgen has used his 3rd ability, which creates these bluish threads that connect all the heroes to Martha. Also, notice how Yasmin's damage is redirected to Martha. The key point here is that something is missing, Yasmin's poison on Rufus. The tank on the right got a few purple poison counters. Not so the one on the left. Let's go back a few seconds to when Yasmin uses her ultimate. You can see how the last purple counter disappears before Yasmin hits Rufus. Under normal circumstances, Yasmin should apply her poison several times while using her ultimate ability. Not so this time. All her physical damage is redirected to Martha. For her poison to apply though, she needs to hit her primary target with critical physical damage. This means that the opposing team is immune to new poisons for the duration of Jorgen's 3rd ability, unless Yasmin targets Martha directly. Also, be reminded that Jorgen's 3rd ability has a duration of 10 seconds and a cooldown of 20 seconds. Therefore, Jorgen makes the enemy team immune to Yasmin's poison for half the time. Also, speed-ups can influence the cooldown and make things even worse. In the previous fight, Martha uses her speed-up ultimate at 0.46 seconds. Then the bluish threads of Jorgen's 3rd ability started at 0.43 seconds. Only 13 seconds later Jorgen used his 3rd ability again. This means that the downtime of his 3rd ability was only 3 seconds. Hence, the enemy team was immune to Yasmin's poison almost the whole time from 0.43 till 0.20. That's a whooping 23 seconds of immunity. Remember, this poison immunity granted to the enemy does not come from an enemy ability but from the team's own Jorgen. Your Jorgen makes the enemy immune to your Yasmin's poison. So what's the solution? Don't level Jorgen's third ability. For this, let's look into the previous fight again, but watch the attacking team's Yasmin, for which Jorgen's third ability is at level 1. If you keep Leper at level 1, it will redirect only a tiny portion of Yasmin's damage. You can see Martha getting a little slap every time Yasmin hits Rufus. Most importantly, Yasmin's poison counters increase even while Jorgen's ability is active. You might ask, what if your Leper is above 1 but below the maximum of 110? Don't touch it. In this last fight, the attacking team's Leper is 1 level below the maximum of 110. As you can see, half of Yasmin's damage is directed to Martha and she still applies her poison. The take-home message is, do not level Leper if you want to use it with Yasmin. You should also not level Leper if you prefer to deal damage to the front line instead of the back line. If you actually want to deal damage to the back line, it might be best for you to level Leper. But remember that you cannot undo it.
Look at me. I am the mightiest warrior in the entire Dominion.
Of course you are. More like a phony full of hot air. Even a little kitty cat can handle you.
A kitty cat? That never happened.
Are you sure? We have the proof. See below.
What kind of nonsense is going on here?
Nothing special. Just a little interaction between Axel, a baby tank, and Aidan.
This is ridiculous. It's an exploit.
Not so fast, mighty warrior. We have asked the messenger of our creators. It is not a bug.
Well, please don't tell anyone.
Too late.
In case you were wondering what happened to that braggart in the battle, let's go back and discuss the details. Firstly, however, I must warn you. Do not rely on this particular Aidan interaction. The developers may change the way it works in the future. I urge you to focus on your main heroes before investing in an additional hero. In the previous battle, the attacking team used a tank with low maximum health. If you're trying to do this, it's best to take a frontline hero with as few maximum health points as possible. Like literally nothing invested in it at all. But it has to be a hero that can be patronaged with Axel. Ishmael's first hit deals 28,000 damage. The crossed out number indicates that his attack would actually have been 158,000 higher if it had not been reduced by Axel's patronage effect. You might ask yourself why Julius' health doesn't drop by 45%. The reason for this is Aidan's fourth ability, which creates a shared health pool at the start of the fight that lasts until both heroes die together. In this battle, the shared health pool is as great as 407,000 health. Since Ishmael's 28k damage is applied to this shared health pool, the health bar of both Julius and Aidan only drops by 7%. Back to Axel's patronage effect. The special thing about this effect is that the lower the hero's health, the more it limits the incoming damage. Normally, a hero with low health would die very quickly even with Axel's effect. But thanks to the shared health pool, this is not the case here. Actually, the combination of the shared health pool and Axel's effect works better the lower the hero's maximum health is. Unfortunately, my own Julius already has 65k maximum health. I would prefer a lower value. But I don't have a hero with lower max health unless Nexters releases one in the future. Notice how even the pure damage is reduced to 28k. This is because Axel's patronage effect is not limited to a specific type of damage. Even though it looks like Aidan and Julius are going to die, Celeste and Aidan's healing keeps them both alive. Without Celeste, things might not have turned out so well. If you try this, you may need to use a second healer alongside Aidan as well. If you try this method, be careful when choosing your team pet. Axel worked well for me in this fight. But often with this method, the transferred damage from Axel's first ability is too much for Aidan. Therefore, you might want to try out Oliver or Chorus as your team pet instead of Axel.
Sorry for the interruption. But you should also warn about the effect of the Tree of Wisdom on the baby heroes.
Thank you, Cornelius. Yes, the Tree of Wisdom increases the power of your baby heroes of the corresponding class. So even if a baby hero works with Aidan today, in the future, when you have invested more in the Tree of Wisdom, it may not work as well. So be careful. Next, let's talk about the requirements of this method. Obviously, you need a strong Aidan and a baby hero at the front. Also, you can't use Kayla because when she's on the battlefield, Aidan builds up the shared health pool with her and not with the baby hero on the front line. But which hero actually is at the front? For this, we need to talk about this list, which tells you the order of the heroes on the battlefield. For example, Aurora has position number 2, which means that there is only one hero positioned in front of her, namely Chaba. By the way, the colored heroes are those that may use Axel as patronage. So let's say you use Ishmael as your main damage dealer. Then this list tells you that your only choice for a baby hero are Aurora, Rufus, Julius, Astaroth, and Mushy and Shroom. Or let's say you use Yasmin as damage dealer. In which case you could use as a baby hero again those 5 tanks and also Marcus. You can also look at this in another way. Let's say you want to use Arachne as your baby hero for this Aidan combo. Now, this list tells you that your team must not include any of the heroes that are listed before Arachne up to Maya. So whether a hero works for you as a baby hero with Aidan depends mainly on the heroes you've already invested in. As we watch another fight where Ishmael was beaten up by our baby Julius, I want to highlight something else. It is obvious that you should not invest anything in your baby hero that promotes health. However, there is one thing you may want to invest in, and that is your baby hero's first artifact. This doesn't increase health and still gives your team a nice bonus. But again, I recommend you focus on your main heroes before investing artifact resources in your baby heroes. Normally, this method also works without increasing the first artifact. You should therefore only increase the first artifact if you really use this method frequently. The takeaway of this video is: plan your baby heroes in advance to be sure you have some left that work for your team. Use the list in this video to check whether a hero is suitable for you as a baby hero with Aidan. Try to use a baby hero that does not gain much health from your Tree of Wisdom. And of minor importance, try to choose a baby hero who has a useful artifact weapon.
Welcome to my video, where we will see how to counter Dante's infamous snowball effect. I will discuss the mechanics behind these counters to make sure you can customize them to your own heroes. Dante's snowball effect is strongly related to his high rate of energy gain, which is partly caused by Kane's patronage effect, which gives bonus energy for each successful dodge. Dante's energy gain is increased even further if he scores a death blow as seen in the following fight. With his first ultimate, Dante kills Celeste, which gives him a 30% energy boost. Therefore, he will soon be able to use his ultimate again. This time he kills Sebastian for another energy boost. Because of this energy feedback loop, caused by Dante's kills, this is often referred to as a snowball effect. So, how can you slow down, and thus counter Dante? You need to deny him the extra energy from the kills by using pet patronage and defensive artifact weapons. Also, you should put your hero with the lowest defense in the back, since Dante's spears won't hit your 5th hero while the others are still alive. There are exceptions to this rule, like when fighting Dante together with Jhu, which we might discuss in a later video. In the second part of this video we will show in detail how Axel and Oliver greatly help your hero survive. My Axel protects the hero from any single hit damage that would exceed about 50% of the hero's maximum health. What does that actually look like in a fight? You can see how Axel's patronage reduces Dante's damage by 38,000 damage. You may think this isn't that impressive. But let's see how this number changes when we put Nebula beside Dante. Nebula has a skill that dramatically increases the attack power of the heroes next to her. This is indicated by the ball hovering next to Dante. Because of Nebula's boost, Dante's damage would normally be devastatingly bigger. But, thanks to Axel's patronage, the damage is as big as before. Only this time, Axel reduced the damage by a whooping 480,000 damage. He even did that twice. Since Axel also is awesome as a team pet, it's great that you can double dip with him, as part of your Dante counter strategy. Another pet that excels against Dante with its patronage is Oliver. As we will see, Oliver's health and especially the armor boost greatly help Sebastian to survive Dante's ultimate. For this first fight though, we will not use Oliver on Sebastian but Albus. This allows us to see Dante's damage without an armor boost for Sebastian. Dante hits twice for 199,000 damage. Next we compare this to Dante's damage when Sebastian uses Oliver for an armor boost. As you can see, this armor boost reduces the damage to 93,000, which is less than 50%. However, this is only a very specific example. Armor damage reduction depends heavily on the hero's armor and the enemy's armor penetration. Only when the armor and armor penetration are nearly equal in value will you see such a large effect from Oliver's patronage. Let's summarize. We need to beefen up the 4 heroes that are hit by Dante's first skill. We have 2 heroes with Axel and Oliver, and most likely 1 main tank. So we need 1 more hero who survives Dante's hit. My personal favorite is Heidi, as he has a high chance of dodging Dante's hit. He also may use Cain, which is another great defensive pet. But there for sure are other great heroes you might use instead of Heidi. You could also try a second tank with low power and sufficiently leveled armor artifact buff. On this account, Astaroth is quite weak, and Biscuit has medium power. Astaroth dies from Dante's first ultimate. But after his revival, his artifact buff together with the dodge from Aurora's artifact buff keep himself alive for the rest of the battle. Also, his armor buff helps the rest of the team survive, as seen when Dante hit Celeste for only 100,000 damage. Using a second tank with such low power may not be your first choice. But, you may want to play around with it in test fights and find that it is a useful combination for some real fights, especially when you can only use each hero once, as in the Clash of Worlds game mode. In some situations, you may even prefer a secondary tank with low power to a secondary tank with high power. The reason for this could be that the secondary tank with lower power gains energy much faster.
Welcome to Dominion News. I'm your host Cornelius, and on today's show we're going to talk about whether Dante really is a damage dealer or maybe something else entirely. First, we asked some of our bravest heroes, Aidan and Yasmin, what they thought about Dante.
The fight against Dante was terrible. He kind of shrunk my brain. I felt like Galahad.
Dante throws his spears without thinking. It's because of his forearms. They keep him too busy to have any useful thought. But when he strikes me, I'm suddenly very sensitive to critical hits. He's quite an opponent, even without using his brain.
Those were pretty strong statements. It also seems that both heroes had an experience of weakness in their fights against Dante. So we asked our data analysts if they could find out anything about this strange weakness. Here's what they found. Hold on. I'm not sure what this video has to do with Dante. Or even with the game. Do we have something else? Stop. I feel that we have a problem in Dominion in terms of evil toilets. But how is this related to Dante? Don't ask data analysts if you want to get something done. Luckily, I did my own research. The symptoms Aidan and Yasmin describe are all related to Dante's fourth skill. With his spectral spear, he reduces the target's main stat by a considerable amount. This explains why Aidan felt dumb as Galahad. More importantly, this explains why Yasmin reports being vulnerable to critical hits, as the critical hit resistance depends on the target's main stat. Dante's already powerful debuff can be further strengthened when he is assisted by Nebula, as she more than doubles his physical attack with her fourth skill. If Dante debuffs an enemy while Nebula's skill is active, he will reduce the target's main stat by over 14,000. So what does this matter? For this, let's have a look at Rufus, who, according to some of our less moronic data analysts, is quite a useful tank on defense. As you can see, while debuffed, Rufus has only a little over 1,000 strength left. Again, who cares? Well, Rufus' strength is the key factor when it comes to whether an incoming damage is critical, aka doubled, or not. You might ask yourself why this old man is talking about Dante's crit rating. I tell you. Maybe, someday you feel like putting a baby jet next to Dante. This could bring Dante's crit rating to almost 2,000. At first glance, this might not sound much. But let's look at the crit formula again. If we put in the values, we arrive at a crit chance of 10.5%. If we do the same for the situation in which Rufus is debuffed, we arrive at a whooping 60.7%. Remember, for this we are using only a baby jet. Come on. Who is making these slides? This is not Jet, but Baby Master Yoda from Star Wars. Anyway, let's look at a battle where Baby Jet's crit rating together with Dante's debuff worked out well. Notice how on the attacking team there is no other source of crit rating besides Jet's fourth skill. Dante's debuff can be recognized by the golden crossed spear symbol above the heads of the defending heroes. As you can see, Rufus is quite often critically hit while debuffed. Let's fast forward to see the result of the battle. Here, we see how the attacking Dante's spears fly past the defending Dante, because that one is in the air itself. The spears hit Nebula and Fafnir twice. The first hit applies the debuff and almost all subsequent hits are a crit. As crits are subject to quite some randomness, this does prove nothing. It is important though to keep in mind how powerful Dante's debuff can be when combined with a source of crit rating. In the current meta, Dante seems to be considered a damage dealer and even a tank. But thanks to his debuff, even if he is not used as a main damage dealer, he still has decent support potential. The take-home message is this: keep Dante's powerful debuff in mind. Especially when attacking a Dante team, take Sebastian with you, as his first skill protects against Dante's debuff. Today we will talk about how to counter Jhu. And we will use a hero that does not require a large investment. What makes Jhu special is his third ability, which allows him to attack the enemy who is at the very back of the enemy team. This is important for your counter strategy, because there is exactly one hero who will always be at the back of your team, no matter what other heroes you add to your team. It is Martha, who also has the highest health of all healers. Actually, Martha's health is so high that it is best not to maximize it, as shown in the video linked below. In the following fights we will use a Martha that has only 68k power and 272k health. Let's take a look at how our tough Martha teaches Jhu a lesson. Oh no, Jhu hits pretty hard. That wasn't nice of him. Now, let's see how Axel changes the situation. At the beginning, Jhu still hits just as hard as before. But after Martha gets her artifact buff, Jhu's damage drops drastically. During the rest of the fight, we can see that Martha has no problem surviving as long as the armor buff is active. But eventually Jhu manages to stun her with a critical hit while her armor buff is inactive. That's enough to finish her off. This test fight was important because it showed that while Martha's armor buff is active, she cannot be killed by Jhu's damage alone. And that's with our Martha being incredibly cheap compared to a fully developed Jhu. Let's look at a battle where the opposing team uses heroes with maximum power. Our team has the medium Martha and also a medium Rufus. The main strategy here is to use multiple sources of armor and also dodge buffs to ensure that Jhu can't kill Martha. In the end, our team lost only Aurora. Also notice how repeating this fight often leads to victory as well. Next we will speed through some fights to see that this strategy also works with different heroes on our side and also on the opposing side. For this fight the opposing team replaced Iris with Nebula. And our team replaced Rufus with Astaroth, which resulted in an even clearer fight since Astaroth artifact was at maximum level. The repetition of this fight also led to many victories. This strategy also works with different damage dealers, as you can see in the next test where we replaced Heidi with Orion. It also works with Sebastian, who in my opinion is a must-have hero anyway. In case some of you think the enemy should have used Axel, the strategy still works. If you don't have a second tank, you can also use a second healer to keep Martha alive. In this case I used Celeste. You don't even need to use Iris, as can be seen in these test fights. Although the last 2 of the 10 fights were lost. The main takeaways are this. Use a medium-sized Martha to absorb Jhu's damage against the very back of your team. Use multiple sources of armor and dodge buffs, and if needed extra healing to keep Martha alive.
In this video I will make the case that Dorian is an excellent low-investment hero. The sole reason for him being surprisingly useful even at purple or orange rank is his fourth skill. This skill gives himself and the heroes in his vicinity quite a decent vampirism effect. The key point is that the value of the effect is completely flat. Nothing increases it after it reaches the maximum skill level. Hence, you really only need to bring Dorian to violet rank and level 130 to maximize this skill. To get a feeling for his aura, we will watch a test fight of a Dorian with maximum power against an orange rank Dorian. Notice the pinkish circles surrounding each hero. They mark the heroes who are affected by Dorian's aura. As we can see, thanks to the vampirism effect, each Heidi is healed as fast as he deals damage. Oh no! The orange rank Dorian died. But wait! Heidi is still healed. The fact that Dorian's aura is still working after his death is another key point for him being useful even at low power. It really doesn't matter that much how long he survives. All of his other abilities don't add much. Hence, even a dead Dorian lets your other heroes heal so much that it's often just as good as a living healer. In the end, the team with lower power lost. Still, it is quite surprising how long it survived. As you can see, the defending Heidi actually healed even more than the attacking one. This makes sense, since it also took more damage due to the attacking Heidi being at maximum power. The main takeaway from this fight is that Dorian's power really doesn't matter when it comes to how much the damage dealers are healed. Let's have a look at a real battle in Clash of Worlds. In this game mode you can use each hero only once for a total of 3 attack attempts. Hence, it is especially useful that Dorian is such a great healer for such a low investment. As you can see, Heidi and Iris had healing values similar to Celeste, which shows that Dorian, through his vampirism aura, has a huge effect on the battle, despite being at much lower power than Celeste. Notice how the altar, summoned by Corvus, deals quite some damage to Heidi. But, thanks to Dorian's vampirism aura, Heidi never is in danger of dying. Neither is Iris. To make the best use of Dorian, it is important to understand for which heroes he is a soft counter. For this we need to delve into the mysterious secrets of the game's underlying battle engine. Hence, I threw together some random healers, together with Cleaver, against a Dorian team. Notice again, how at the start of the battle only Heidi, Orion, and Dorian himself are surrounded by the pinkish circles of Dorian's vampirism aura. Now, Cleaver uses his ultimate, which pulls Dorian to the front. This change in Dorian's position also changes who is affected by his aura. You can see that Heidi and Orion lost the pinkish circles, whereas Aurora and Celeste gained them. When Cleaver uses his skill again, Orion is now pulled to the front. This brings him back into the range of Dorian's aura. This fight shows that skills, which change the position of heroes on the battlefield, also have an impact on who receives Dorian's aura. Therefore, there are a couple of heroes, which are soft countered by Dorian, because they indirectly increase his healing by moving him around. Besides Cleaver, Lars is the hero most affected by Dorian as a soft counter. This is due to his first ability, which moves all the heroes of the opposing team to the back row. In this last battle we will see how Lars pushes all the enemy heroes to the far end of the battle zone. Well, unless you consider the battle zone to end somewhere outside of the screen. In this video we will see how to manually fight with Water Titans. In Guild War fights I rarely fight much stronger teams than my own because that would be too risky. Hence let's have a look at this elemental tournament fight. As you can see the enemy team has much higher team power. Also, its water totem is a lot stronger. Still, after the second try, I could manage to win. Thanks to manual fight, and also because I think Tenebris is quite strong, even with such a low power. Let's speed through the first fight and discuss what worked well in the second. Whenever you see the pause menu, it is because I pressed the escape button. This is crucial in every manual fight, because it gives you the time to analyze the situation. I retreated from the fight because it was clearly lost. Whenever an Aidan is in any of the teams, the fight is a lot more random. Hence, it is worth giving it a few tries, even if your team is a lot weaker. With some lucky pulls by your own Aidan, and unlucky pulls by the enemy Aidan, the outcome of the fight can be drastically different. Notice how I delay my tank skill, and use the pause menu, to slow down the fight. I want to use Sigurd's skill, just before the next hit occurs. I instantly use Aidan's skill, since there is no reason to delay it. In some situations, there might be a reason to delay it though. Like, when the target I want to hit would still be underground, when Aidan's rock hits the enemy team. Notice how both, the enemy Aidan and Hyperion, start their ultimate animation at the same time. This often is the case, when both these Super Titans are present in the same team. It is the perfect target for our Nova's stun. Again, the escape key is used to slow down the fight. We want to hit Nova's skill, right when Hyperion's weapon is almost horizontally orientated. This will ensure that Nova's stun will interrupt both Aidan's and Hyperion's ultimate. If you stun Aidan or Hyperion too early during their animation, they will still get stunned. But, after the stun, they will go on with their ultimate animation and deal massive damage. Hence, training the timing of Nova's ultimate is the key to mastering Water Titan fights. If you are able to interrupt Aidan, you save your team from a ton of damage. Especially because Aidan, as an Earth Titan, deals extra damage to Water Titans. Interrupting Hyperion is the icing on the cake. If you use Tenebris or the Fire Super Titan Araji, make sure to use its ultimate, while Sigurd's shield skill is inactive. Otherwise, most of Tenebris' really powerful attack is wasted. Notice how Tenebris' purple curse jumps from Sigurd to Nova after Sigurd is dead. Killing both Sigurd and Nova with my Tenebris and Hyperion's ultimate really helped in this fight. Otherwise, they would have been healed by the water totem, and Nova might have stunned my team for a third time. After this, my team had the upper hand. There is not much to learn from this anymore. So let's speed up. In the statistics, you can see that Tenebris, although having only 4 stars and being level 118, still dealt huge damage. As shown here, my Aidan's first artifact weapon is at maximum. But still, Tenebris dealt 150% of Aidan's damage. Not only did Tenebris dealt the most damage, he also healed 3 times as much as Hyperion. The take-home message from this video is, first, Nova's ultimate is a great tool to interrupt opposing Super Titans. And second, bringing Aidan and Tenebris to a fight against Water Titans made it possible to beat a seemingly much stronger Water team. There will be a follow-up video about fighting other Titan elements. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please consider subscribing.